Hello, welcome to another session of academic writing. Today we are going to continue with the Unit 8, which deals with professional writing. And in the previous class we have already seen how to make a CV or curriculum vitae. Now we are going to the next topic, that is letter writing. We know that after the arrival of internet, email and all that, the art of letter writing has almost become extinct. People don't use this art very much recently, because they have got a much sophisticated way of communicating through email and all that. But still, letter writing is still necessary when we need to communicate officially. That's why we need to study how to write letters. So we know that letter writing still remains very essential in the field of communication. Today's internet and email, we know that people don't use much of this letter writing as it was in the past. However, it is still necessary to present a formal letter to obtain information, to apply for a job, to write a complaint letter, or simply to express your opinion in an effective manner. So, for various reasons, people still depend on letter writing. So let us go into the details of how to write a letter. How to plan a letter. Before writing a letter, you have to do SAP. SAP stands for Subject, Audience, Purpose analysis. That is subject. What are you writing about? That is a topic. Then think about the receiver or the audience who you are addressing the letter. That is the audience. Then identify the purpose of writing. What is the intention of this letter? Why? Then gather information you need and do additional research if it is required. If you think you need to give some details, if it is a serious matter, then you better do a thorough study on that subject. Make a simple outline of the points you need to cover. So the main points you can write down somewhere before you commit to the letter writing. Then we come to the types of letters. Generally, there are two types. They are formal and informal letters. Now, informal means the letters we usually write to our friends, relatives, non-people and all that. So, we don't have to really seriously study what is informal writing, but still let us see the details of that. Informal letters have one or more of the following purposes: to thank, to give news, to apologize, to invite, to reply another letter. So these are some of the intentions or purposes of this informal letter. There is a general format for informal letter. Let's see. Just like other letters, we need a address of the person who is writing, that is from address, and then date is given on the right top side corner of the page. It need not be on the right hand side and all that, because nowadays all the letters are left aligned. So you can very well give the date just below the address. Then begin with a salutation or greeting like dear. It's because it is a informal letter. Then set the main purpose of your letter in the beginning itself. What is the intention of your letter? But you don't have to worry too much about punctuation marks and all that. Use the last paragraph to send good wishes and mention your future meeting and so on. Because you are writing to someone who is well known to you, you can send good wishes and all that. So that's about informal letter in short. Moving on to the next one, that is more important, that is a formal letter. The structure of a formal letter. We find that all the lines are aligned towards the left because of the computers. We have all left alignment now. Then the first information you put on a formal letter is your name, address and the date. So you have the from address, and below that you have the date. Then type the recipient's address. There is a to address. Use their full name and include their title like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, etc. If you don't know the person, you can start with the designation or the position of the person like the manager, director, the president, etc. Begin the letter with a subject to make it easy for the recipient. So you can mention the subject or maybe one line so that the reader can easily understand the topic. Then skip a line and write your salutation. So before you start the letter, you greet that person like dear sir. Usually the dear is omitted, you can just write sir or madam, dear manager, etc. Begin the letter with the purpose and reference if any. So at the outset itself, you give the purpose of your letter, whether it is an application, whether it's a request, whatever it is, it has to be clearly mentioned as a subject. And if there is a reference, maybe you have seen an advertisement and you are applying for the post, so you can give the date and newspaper where you saw that advertisement. That is the reference. Or if you are writing a reply to another letter, then you can quote the date and the number of that previous letter. And keep to the point, be brief and give all the necessary information. So here you have to make sure that you don't write anything unnecessary. Keep to the point, no irrelevant matters. It has to be brief. Then conclude the letter with yours sincerely, or sincerely, yours faithfully, yours respectfully, etc. These are some of the concluding words. After the complimentary close, skip 3 lines and write your full name. So you have to leave enough gap there for a signature. Only then you write the name below that. So we sign before the name. Now we come to cover letters. Now what is the meaning of cover letter? A cover letter is a one-page document that along with your CV is sent with your job application. So when you are applying for a job, along with the CV, we are supposed to send a cover letter. Otherwise the CV may look very impersonal, very sketchy. So when you are adding a cover letter, it looks more personal because you are communicating actually through that cover letter. Now what is the basic format of a cover letter? Every cover letter should include your contact information, that is your address, from address, and the date, employer's contact information, that is the to address. Then paragraph 1, that is the reason of writing, why you are writing. Is it to apply for a job, that you have to mention there in the introduction itself. There also you can give a reference in the first paragraph. Then paragraph 2, your offers to them, means what are the skills, what are the qualifications you have, you can mention there in short, because your qualification and other experiences will be given in detail in your CV. But here you are mentioning very briefly about those things. Then the last paragraph, you can write about what happens next, or what are your plans if given a chance, or what are the things that you are going to do, etc. Then the concluding part, closing. Now in a cover letter, there are certain things that the recruiters or the employers are looking at. What are these 5 things that they are looking for in a cover letter? First one is evidence that the applicant has researched about the company. That means while going through the cover letter, they want to know how much you know about this particular company in which you are seeking employment. So you need to give some clear idea about this company. Then they will be happy that you are really in the know about this particular company. Then something eye-catching or something very attractive or impressive, maybe about your character, about your qualification or experience, something that is unique. Then how an applicant found out about the job vacancy? Is it through some job portals or through advertisement in the newspaper? That also they will be curious to know. Next, a sense of the applicant's personality. So that cover letter should give an impression about your personality. Then the last part is readability. That means the language, whether your language is good enough. So there are 3 important factors in this, that is grammar and vocabulary, and also the expressions that you use in the letter. So these things are very important when you are writing a cover letter. Now we move on to writing email. I think most of you are well versed in sending emails. So most of you must be aware of it. So today emails have replaced letters. As I told you, after the arrival of email, the letter writing has become a rare thing. Most people in companies use emails for a wide range of purposes. So emails are used for appointments, meetings, request help or action, provide information, etc. So for any communication we can use emails nowadays. Now what are the differences between an email and a letter? Emails tend to be less formal. Unlike letter writing, emails are more or less informal. No opening and closing. So you find unlike letter writing, there is no opening or closing and all that. You just give the matter directly. That is the approach towards email. Email starts without a name or salutation. So you don't have to greet anyone, just go directly to the point. Then emails are short, definitely, because people don't have time to write long letters and all that. Now there is a format of an email. Let's see what is the format of an email. An email has to address, then CC means carbon copy. It means whether you are sending the copy of the same letter or same email to somebody else, that is CC. Then subject line, if the mail is a reply, then there is a default subject line RE, it means reply. Then salutation is optional, you don't have to greet or salute people if you don't want. Then reason for writing, of course that has to be there. Then the main point, that is the body of the letter, email. Then developing of point, it is optional if you want to elaborate or not. Then additional points, that is also optional, it is not compulsory. Then closing, all these are optional. That means the main thing is that you convey the message in as short as possible, in less words. That is the idea behind email. Then we have some guidelines for writing emails. So let us see what are the guidelines. First one is, it should be brief and clear. So we have already seen that emails are short, so it will be brief and very clear. Then avoid mistakes and edit carefully before sending. So because you are mostly typing on your laptop or mobile phone, you should take care that mistakes are edited before you send it. Then use a plain background to ensure your email is easy to read. So we don't use any background, they are usually white because that is more easy to read. Then avoid writing sarcastic or angry comments. So sarcastic means sometimes you can use certain words to insult people or to make people angry. So we better avoid these kinds of negative remarks. If you are writing email to people within your company, avoid addressing them as dear. So if you are writing to people inside your same company, you can avoid the salutation dear. Then ending an email by writing like kind regards, best wishes, thanks and regards. So these concluding words can be used. Then use capital letters where necessary. So though we don't too much worry about punctuation marks, still wherever necessary we need to use capital letters. Should avoid using too many abbreviations. Abbreviations are allowed, but see that not many are used. However, there are some standard abbreviations which are generally understood, such as ASAP, as soon as possible, etc., etc., EG, for example, RE, regarding. So these common abbreviations can be used in your email. Now we move on to the fourth topic, that is writing summaries. So what is a summary? A summary is condensed version, that is gist or essence of a book, article or other piece of writing. So you are going through a piece of writing, maybe an article or a book, and then after going through this, you are making it very, very short, taking the gist of it, the essence of it. That is the meaning of summary. It is not a rewritten form of the original, so you are not rewriting it, you are writing in different words without changing the meaning. That is very important. To write a summary, use your own words to express briefly the main idea and relevant details of the piece you have read. So the idea of writing summary is that you go through the passage, making it very short, but at the same time without losing the main points. The purpose of writing a summary is to give the basic ideas of the original reading. So what you want to do is go through this and then take the basic ideas, the main ideas of that writing, and then make it very short. when preparing to write a summary, what are the different steps or the procedure? First, understand the material you are working with. So, first step is going through that material, reading it slowly, trying to analyze what is the writing or what is the matter. Then try to identify the purpose of the reading or the material. What is the purpose? What was the author trying to achieve? What was in the mind of the author when he wrote this piece? Then identify what type of text you are dealing. That means whether it is a review, whether it is a criticism, whether it is just a narration, article, whatever. So try to identify that. Then skim the text and identify the main idea of the text. Skim means going in a fast manner. That is the second reading. First reading, you try to understand in general. Then the second reading, you have to skim. That means you are trying to filter through the whole material. Here you can underline the main points, the relevant points, or the relevant most important words you can underline. That means you are trying to remove all the unnecessary words or phrases or even sentences. So then you are trying to identify the main idea, noting in your mind the titles and subtitles, and highlight the important points. So these are the different things that you keep in mind while going through the whole writing a second time. You are trying to identify the main ideas, then there may be titles and subtitles, and also the highlight important points. So that is what you do in the second step. Then read with who, what, when, where, why and how questions in mind and take notes. So these are some of the questions you need to keep in mind. Who is it about? Or who is the main person in this? Or what is it? What is the topic? When is it happening? The time? Where? The place? Why? The reason? And how? So these questions should be in your mind when you are reading and then taking notes. So next is writing down the main points in your own words. So next step is, once you have selected all the relevant points by discarding the irrelevant ones, then you are supposed to write down the main points in short. So go through the process again, making changes as appropriate. So once you have written down the main points, then you can go through the same points once again if you need to make some changes. Then the summary should cover the original as a whole. That means you cannot leave out anything important or relevant. The material should be presented in a neutral fashion. Sometimes what can happen is that while selecting the points, you may select what is interesting to you and leave out the real main points. That means that becomes more subjective. You are not becoming objective in your summarizing. So always keep the author's point of view in mind, not your point of view. So the summary should be as close to the original as possible. Otherwise you can get diverted and the whole view can be changed. We should be very careful in keeping the author's view and his perspective in mind. The summary should be condensed version of the material presented in your own words. So condensed means the very essence, not losing the main points. But you can use your own words without changing the basic meaning. So that's about writing summary. Now we go to the fifth topic, that is writing memos. Now when you hear the word memo, usually we get a very negative idea of that particular word. Memo for us is something very negative. You get a memo means it's almost like getting punishment. So usually memos are given for something negative, for a negative remarks, or you are not done your duty, immediately you will be given a memo. But actually memo doesn't have a negative connotation at all. It means just a communication. The full form of memo is memorandum. It is normally used for communicating policies, procedures, or related official business within an organization. So memos are usually issued to the employees or the people who are working in an organization. A memo's purpose is to inform others about new or changed policy, procedures, organizational details, but it occasionally includes an element of persuasion. Persuasion means almost like a force, maybe kind of giving some instructions or orders from the boss. So these are the various purposes for which a memo is used, like communicating certain policies of the company, or procedures, or official business, maybe some meeting or seminar, whatever. So the idea is to communicate an important matter within an organization. That's the meaning of memo. Next, writing memos. Here are some uses of memos: to announce meetings, events, changes, to present decisions, directives, proposals, briefings, etc., and also to transmit documents, that is internal within the same institution or company or organization. Then 3 steps in writing memos. So there are 3 steps. There are 3 steps. They are first one is preparation, determining the purpose, topic, and reader's needs. So before writing a memo, you should decide why you are writing, what is the purpose, what should be the topic, and also the needs of the reader who is reading this memo. Then writing and organizing. That means after writing, you have to organize the whole thing in a logical way. Then of course, after writing, drafting, you have to review it or revise it or edit wherever necessary. So these are 3 steps in writing memo. Then we have a format for a memo. Now if a company's letterhead is there, you don't have to bother about the first one, that is company or department name, heading and all that, because it will be found there on the letter pad. Then 2, who gets it? Then from, who sent it, date, when it was sent, and subject, what is it about. Then the body, which is conveying the message. So the body can have 3 paragraphs, just like a letter, introduction, main points, and also close. So these are the different aspects of writing a memo, the format. Then memo style. First of all, the memo has to be concise. That means your sentences, paragraph, and overall memo has to be as brief as possible, as focused as possible. That means we don't include any irrelevant, silly matters in a memo. It has to be, it is a serious matter. So you stick to the point only. Then clear. Get your purpose straight before you start. Then plan what you want to say and in what order. Use your memo layout to help your reader, that is headings, bulleted list, white space as appropriate. So there should be a kind of clear order in your writing so that the reader can easily comprehend what is there. So if it is needed, you can use headings, bulleted lists, etc. Then the memo has to be direct. Speak directly to your reader as you would in person or on the phone. So here you are trying to be more personal. It's not a kind of official, it is more of personal. Do not pad your ideas with unnecessary details. That means wordiness, you can avoid wordiness. Don't use unnecessary words and details. Be brief. Think of what questions your reader wants to be answered and then answer them. In case you have left something out so the reader keeps guessing, you better give those details. Then clean at the end, you have to clean it. That is reread, revise, copy, edit and proofread. That's the meaning of cleaning. Means editing, going through the whole thing and then revising, changing, editing and all that. Then memo structure. First you have the subject line which summarizes the main ideas. Think of it as being preceded by the words this memo is about. So it tells you very clearly the subject of the memo. Then introductory paragraph. Quickly inform the reader about what the memo is. So after the subject line, you are going straight to the matter and tell the reader what is the subject. Then give your purpose of writing. Why you are writing this memo? What is the purpose? It has to be clearly written. Then supply any relevant background information. If some background information is necessary to make your point clear, please provide that. Then identify any task the memo is related. Suppose you want the reader to take some action. If it is a kind of instruction given, then definitely that task has to be clearly mentioned there, or the purpose of that memo. Next we come to the body. It conveys the information and supporting details relevant to the memo's purpose. So here you are giving the details about the information. Keep paragraph short and focused. One main idea per paragraph. So you should not crowd the paragraph with too many ideas. Try to focus on one particular idea in a particular paragraph. Keep sentences tight and informative. So there should not be any loose sentences. Try to give only meaningful sentences, not ambiguous or unclear sentences. Then use bullets to list information. In case of you have many points, then you can use bullets or numbering. Then the last point is close. How you are closing the memo, conclusion. End courteously. Courteously means being respectful. Think of a phone call or face-to-face meeting. So how you are talking to that person in person, directly. So how you will be respectful there. So stating any expected outcome, action or other information appropriate to your purpose. So whatever you want that person to do, it has to be clearly expressed but with a lot of respect. For example, please send me your comments and suggestions by January 16. So you want someone to do something, some task, but you have to ask very politely. Or let's meet next week to go over the next stage in the plan. So these are some of the ways you can conclude your memo. I think we have come to the end of this session. In the next session we will continue with the same unit. Till then, goodbye.